Hello, I'm Jacob Stewart, and this is my presentation on the effect of virtual humans making verbal communication mistakes on learners' perspectives of their credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness. Previous work from White et al. And our own prior work suggests learners struggle to notice potentially life-threatening verbal communication mistakes made by virtual humans. If translated to the real world, these mistakes could lead to patient injury or death. In this work, we aim to answer three questions. 1. How frequently are virtual human mistakes identified by learners? 2. Do learners' perceptions of the virtual human's credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness affect learners' abilities to identify life-threatening mistakes? And 3. How do virtual human mistakes impact learner perceptions of the virtual human's credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness? The interaction began with informed consent and then had students complete a pretest regarding their triage knowledge and then watch a pre-brief video that informed them of the upcoming scenario. The students, acting as nurse observers, then watched a virtual nurse assess 2 patients. For each patient, the interaction was broken into 3 parts: a vitals video, a triage assessment video, and an accelerated feature video. After each video, students were asked to rate the virtual nurse's credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness. During the student evaluation phases, students were given the opportunity to point out errors that may have occurred during the scenario. For the first scenario, the users either saw the virtual nurse assess a patient with no visible injuries, as seen in the top image, or they saw the virtual nurse assess a patient with a side laceration and a compound leg fracture, as seen in the bottom image. For the second assessment, users either saw a repeat of the same injury or the injury they did not see in the first scenario. However, to assess the effect of correct performance on trust, the virtual human always performed the second assessment correctly. Depending on which scenario users saw first, users saw one of 2 errors created for this study. If viewing the top scenario first, users saw the virtual human commit a wrong medication error. This error has the virtual human provide a medication the patient previously stated they were allergic to. Wrong medication errors occur frequently in the real world. If viewing the bottom scenario first, users saw the virtual human commit a wrong site error. This error has the virtual nurse state the wrong leg to the learner, acting as the nurse observer. Wrong site errors occur infrequently in the real world. Nursing collaborators chose these errors for this study as they are considered never events. Never events are adverse events that should never happen because they are clearly identifiable, measurable, serious, and preventable. In the vitals video, the patient's current vitals and the EMS report are stated by the virtual human to the user. The information provided here was always correct.
EMS report states that the patient has a seatbelt injury to the chest, a right lower abdominal laceration, and an open and protruding fracture on the tibia. The vital signs are BP is 150/90, temp is 98.7, pulse is 115, respirations are 16, and O2 sat is 95% on room air.
In the triage assessment video, a triage assessment was performed by the virtual nurse. In the first assessment, either a medication error or a wrong site error is made.
The patient has bruising across the chest. There is a 6-inch wide lacerated area to the right lower abdominal quadrant, approximately half a centimeter deep, with a small amount of bleeding. And a bone is protruding from the interior aspect of the right lower leg.
Finally, for each patient, an accelerated feature video is shown to alert the users of the error that was committed by the virtual human and to highlight the future consequences of the error.
Because of mistakes made by my medical staff, I'm now missing both of my legs. The series of mistakes originated from a nurse giving a medical report and simply stating the wrong leg. I was in so much pain that I did not notice her saying it was my right leg that was injured instead of my left leg. I trusted her to do her job and put my care first. I trusted the medical team on my case to help me, to heal me after an accident. Instead, their mistakes have altered my life forever.
For our first research question, we found evidence suggesting learners are more likely to identify frequent verbal communication mistakes made by virtual humans than infrequently occurring mistakes. As mentioned previously, we use 2 types of medical errors in this work. One type occurs frequently and the other occurs infrequently. We found that only 4.76% of students that viewed the infrequent mistake scenario noticed the nurse's error, while 56.41% of students that viewed the frequent mistake scenario noticed the error. For our second research question, we found evidence suggesting that user perceptions of virtual human trustworthiness may affect learners' abilities to identify errors. Initial trust ratings show that learners who noticed the mistakes reported significantly higher initial ratings of trustworthiness in the virtual human than learners who did not notice the mistakes. And for our third research question, we found that virtual human mistakes, when recognized, negatively impact learner perceptions of the virtual human. However, the negative perceptions caused by these life-threatening mistakes are temporary. Key takeaways from this work are that learners struggle to identify uncommon verbal communication mistakes committed by virtual humans that could have life-threatening consequences, that error recognition may be improved by improving the trustworthiness of a virtual human, and that the temporary nature of the negative perceptions caused by life-threatening mistakes is concerning, and further research is needed to determine the reasoning for the immediate increase in trust ratings. Again, I'm Jacob Stewart, and this was a presentation on the effect of virtual humans making verbal communication mistakes on learners' perspectives of their credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness. Thank you for coming to my presentation, and I'll be taking any questions now that you may have.